So Nuh alayhi salam was told to do something now for himself. And what was that? That وَاصْنَعِ الْفُلْكَ, and construct the ship. Build the ship. Isna' from the root letters, Sad, Noon, Ain. Sana'a yasna'u, it is to make something, but in particular it is to manufacture. What does it mean? To manufacture something. It is to do something with skill. So وَاصْنَعِ الْفُلْكَ, manufacture, meaning construct, build the ship. We will teach you. You have to build the ship. And the word al-fulk is used for a ship. Remember, this is not a boat. It's not a canoe. What is it? It's a ship. So build the ship بِأَعْيُنِنَا, with our observation, وَوَحْيِنَا, and our revelation. A'yun is a plural of ayn. And what does ayn mean? Eye. And wahi is revelation. What does it mean by this? That build the ship with our observation and our instruction. Meaning, build the ship under our observation and supervision. A'yun gives the meaning of observation and supervision. That we're watching you, we're making sure that you're building it properly, that you're doing it right. Just imagine you're doing something for the very first time. And you have never seen anyone do it before. And you have been given the instructions. And you're doing it. Don't you want somebody to watch you to make sure you're doing it right? Especially if it's a huge project. Just to guide you through. Just to make sure that you're following every step properly. You're not missing anything. And what you're doing is correct. So that at the end, it's not that the whole effort has gone waste. Just imagine you're cooking something for the very first time. You enter into the kitchen for the first time. Are you just going to open a recipe book and follow the instructions? No. You're going to have someone guide you. What does it mean by finely chopping something? What does it mean by, doing this or doing that? These terms that are used in cooking, many people are unaware. So even if you have the recipe book in front of you, you will not be able to follow the instructions unless and until somebody is watching you. So, بِأَعْيُنِنَا, meaning our observation, our supervision. We're going to watch you. We're going to make sure you're doing it right. وَوَحْيِنَا, and our instruction. Meaning, we're going to teach you, we're going to instruct you as to how you are supposed to build the ship. We're going to give you guidance as to how you're supposed to build the ship. And بِأَعْيُنِنَا has also been understood as our protection. That we're watching you, meaning we're protecting you. Build the ship under our protection. Our observation, supervision, as well as protection. وَوَحْيِنَا, our instruction and guidance and teaching. Follow these instructions. وَلَا تُخَاطِبْنِي, and do not address me. فِي الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا, in those people who have done zulm. تُخَاطِبْنِي is from the root letters خَاطَبَ, from the word khitab. Any other word from the same root? Khutbah, what does that mean? A speech, an address, Friday sermon. Any other word from the same root? Khatib, who is a khatib? One who gives a khutbah. Khitab is also from the same root. And remember khitbatun nikah. What was that? Marriage proposal. Because it begins with one side addressing the other. Anyway, khitab is basically an address in which one person is addressing the rest of the people. One person is addressing the other. It's not a both-sided conversation. Do you understand? One person is talking and the other is listening. And the listener, he just responds occasionally if he finds there to be a need. Which is why, for example, in the Jumu'ah khutbah, if the speaker asks a question, it's always supposed to be a rhetorical question. People are not supposed to respond to that question. You're not allowed to. Okay? Why? Because it's supposed to be a one-sided address. It's not a conversation. It's not a discussion. It's not an interactive session. This is what a khitab is. So, لا تخاطبني, do not address me, في الذين ظلموا, concerning those people who have done zulm. Meaning, do not address me, do not make dua to me, about those people who have done zulm. That don't ask me, don't request me that I should save them, that I should not punish them, that I should delay the punishment. Don't make any such dua to me while you're making the ship or from any point onwards. You're not allowed to do that anymore. Why? Because إِنَّهُمْ مُغْرَقُونَ, it has been decided that these people are now going to be drowned. مُغْرَقُونَ is from the root letters غَيْن را قاف, غَرق, which means to drown. So they're definitely going to be drowned. Therefore, do not pray to me about them. Do not pray that I should forgive them, that I should delay the punishment. The punishment is not going to be averted or delayed. Their chance is over now. With regards to the construction of the ship, it is said that no one had ever constructed a ship before this point, a boat even. There was no concept of traveling over water. There was no concept up until now. And the people had never seen a ship before either. So obviously, when the ship was unknown, it was also unknown as to how to build the ship. So how did this start? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught Nuh alayhi salam how to construct the ship. And from there onwards, people began building their own ships and boats, and the various versions they came about, and people used them in various ages, various times for different purposes. But how did it begin? From Nuh alayhi salam. That's how it started. That's where it started. Just like Dawood alayhi salam, he was taught how to use iron. Right? وَأَلَنَّا لَهُ الْحَدِيدِ. So Iron Age, Allahu A'lam, however, it was at his time that he was able to use it. Similarly, Nuh alayhi salam was the one who built the ship for the first time. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed him as to how to do it. It is mentioned in Tafseer al-Tabari that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Nuh alayhi salam to make the ship from Indian oak wood. He commanded him to make the ship from what? Indian oak wood. And then He commanded him to make its length 80 cubits and its width 50 cubits. Allah then commanded him to coat its interior and exterior with tar. So he was told to coat the interior and the exterior with tar and to make it with a slanted bow to part the water as it sails. And its height was 30 cubits into the sky. And it had 3 levels. And each level was 10 cubits high. The lowest level was for the animals, all types of animals, both tame and wild. According to others, it was only the wild animals that were in the lowest level. And the second level was for the human beings, and the highest level was for the birds. Why? So that the birds can also fly. And the human beings can always go up and down. And its door was in the center of it, and it had a cover on top of it that covered the entire ship. Why? Because it was supposed to go through a storm. It wasn't like an open boat. It was a ship with various levels, and it also had covers. And remember that all of these opinions, all of these descriptions of the ship, they're based on Israeli traditions. So we're not to reject them, we're not to confirm them as 100% true. We can take them as they are, but it doesn't mean we have to believe in them as they are, or we say that no, this is false. We just take them as they are, and we observe silence with regard to their correctness or their falseness. So Nuh alayhi salam, he was commanded to build the ship. And if you look at it, the ship did not descend from the sky. The angels were not told to go make the ship. Who was told to make the ship? Nuh alayhi salam. And it wasn't that, okay, he was just given the instructions. He was told to tell the believers as to how to construct the ship. He is told to construct the ship. We see that the Prophet ﷺ, he himself had to go to battle. Wasn't it? It wasn't just that he would watch. He would participate. He would journey. He would travel. Remember the Battle of Tabuk, the expedition? How long and difficult it was? So what do we see? That when a person is working for the deen, then he has to put in some effort. He cannot just sit back and expect that everything will be done for him, just because he's going out in the way of Allah. No, it means you have to do something as well. You have to make your ship. You have to do something. You cannot expect everything to be done for you. Yes, Allah will aid you, He will guide you, He will teach you, but you also have to move. وَيَصْنَعُ الْفُلْكَ, and he was building the ship. وَيَصْنَعُ الْفُلْكَ, Nuh alayhi salam, he began constructing the ship. Then what happened? وَكُلَّمَا, and each time, meaning every time, مَرَّ عَلَيْهِ, he passed by him, he went by him, who? Mala, the chiefs, min qawmihi, of his people. Every time the leaders from amongst his people, the elite from amongst his people, a group of them, they passed by him, what would they do? سَخِرُوا مِنْهُ, they would mock at him, they would make fun of him. سَخِرُوا is from the root letters, sin khara, sukhriya, which is to ridicule, to mock someone. And it's basically to make fun of someone. How? By mentioning their faults. By mentioning their faults or the wrong that they're doing or the deficiencies that they have, the mistakes that they have made. And every person, every single person has some kind of deficiency, isn't it? No human being is perfect. And it's possible that you see something as a deficiency in the other, whereas in reality it's not really deficiency. You see something as a fault in the other, as an aib in the other, but in reality it's not an aib. For example, some people might find others, their features, as not that beautiful, and they might mock at them. At the same time, it's possible that their spouse or their family or their relatives, they find them to be very beautiful. Every person has his own opinion. So, just because you don't like something, just because you find a fault in someone, does not mean you have to make fun of them. It's not appropriate. It's not correct. It is not right to do that at all. So these people, every time they passed by him, they would laugh at him. They would make fun of him. And what's the aib that they mentioned? What's the fault that they mentioned? That look, he's become a carpenter now. Before, he said he was a messenger. Now look at him, he's become a carpenter. He's working with wood. It is also said that they mocked at him. Why? Because when they passed by him, they would ask him, what are you doing? And he would say to them that I am making a boat, a ship. And this is going to sail on water. So they laughed at that. That he is making something that's going to sail on water. Because remember, ships, boats were unknown to the people before. They were completely unknown to them. They had no idea that a ship, a boat could actually float on water. So when he said to them that I'm making something like that, they began laughing at him. Are you crazy? What are you doing? And you may have heard, you may have read about different inventors of the past, that how when they made something, when they discovered something, or when they invented something, the people, they would mock at them a lot. They would consider them as nerds and people who don't have any social skills, and they're just busy experimenting one thing after the other. So when Nuh a.s. told them, I'm making a boat and it's going to float on water, they laughed at that. Similarly, they mocked at him. Why? Because he was building a ship, but there was no water. There was no sign of water. So they said, you're making a ship, and on what water are you going to float with this? Which water? Where is it? So سَخِرُوا مِنْهُ, they began laughing at him. So they began mocking at him. قَالَ, he said, Nuh a.s. said that إِن تَسْخَرُوا مِنَّا, if you mock at us, فَإِنَّا نَسْخَرُ مِنْكُمْ, then indeed we mock at you too. كَمَا تَسْخَرُونَ, just as you mock. What does it mean? That if somebody mocks at you, you have the license to mock back at them? If somebody is making fun of you, saying bad things to you, then you also have the right to do the same to them? No. What this means is that if you're mocking at us today, tomorrow we'll see who deserves to be laughed at. Is it us or is it you? Let's see how and when the tables will turn. Today you're laughing at us. Tomorrow you will see that you're the ones who really deserve to be laughed at. Because we have equipped ourselves for the storm that is coming, and you have done nothing. Then we'll see who really deserves to be laughed at. Similarly, this has been understood as that in taskharu minna, if you mock at us today, then tomorrow, meaning on the day of judgment, we will laugh at you. You're laughing at us today, tomorrow on the day of judgment, we will laugh at you. And then this has been understood in another way as well. That if you laugh at us, then فَإِنَّا نَسْخَرُ مِنْكُمْ, meaning we seek the help of Allah against your mocking us. And this is mushakala. Remember? Where words are used which are exactly the same, but they give a different meaning. They give a different implication. Like for example, we learned about the munafiqeen, that they mock. يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُسْتَهْزِئُونَ. What does Allah say? That Allahu yastahzi'u bihim. Allah mocks at them. And it's also understood that Allah will punish them for their mockery. Allahu yastahzi'u also means that Allah will punish them for their mockery. So similarly, when they say فَإِنَّا نَسْخَرُ مِنْكُمْ, what they mean is that we seek the help of Allah against your mocking at us. Go ahead, laugh, mock at us, make fun of us. We have the help of Allah. فَإِنَّا نَسْخَرُ مِنْكُمْ كَمَا تَسْخَرُونَ. And if you notice over here, that at the beginning of the ayah, what do we learn? That وَيَصْنَعُ الْفُلْكَ, he, Nuh alayhi salam, one person was building the ship. وَكُلَّمَا مَرَّ عَلَيْهِ, upon him. سَخِرُوا مِنْهُ, they laughed at him. At who? Nuh alayhi salam. And what response does he give? That إِن تَسْخَرُوا مِنَّا فَإِنَّا. He responds, how? In the plural. Why? Because it wasn't just him alone who was building the ship. Definitely the people who had believed in him, they were his companions and they were assisting him in this work. So they were also building the ship along with him. But you see that the people, as they passed by, they would not mock at the believers. Who were they mocking at? The messenger. But what's the response? If you mock at us. Because if the messenger is being mocked at, then what does it mean? That you as his follower, as his believer, are also being mocked at. If somebody talks badly about your messenger, that is an insult, not just to your messenger, but also to you. If they were mocking at the messenger, what does it mean? They were also mocking at those people who believed in him, those people who followed him. If they were insulting him, this was also an insult to them. So we can never say, okay, these people are talking bad about the Prophet ﷺ. They're making fun of him. I have nothing to do with that. No. If they're mocking at your messenger, in reality they're making fun of you. If they're laughing at him, if they're denying him, if they're opposing him, if they're spreading hate about him, then what are they doing in reality? They're spreading hate about you, against you. So you have to take it personally. فَإِنَّا نَسْخَرُ مِنْكُمْ كَمَا تَسْخَرُونَ. We learned that in Surah Al-Mutaffifin, ayah number 30 to 36, that the disbelievers in this dunya, what do? They mock at the believers. Not all of them, but many of them. They make fun of them. But on the day of judgment, what's going to happen? The tables are going to turn completely. We learn that إِنَّ الَّذِينَ أَجْرَمُوا كَانُوا مِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا يَضْحَكُونَ. Indeed, those people who committed crimes, they used to laugh at those people who believed. They used to laugh at them. They used to make fun of them. وَإِذَا مَرُّوا بِهِمْ يَتَغَامَزُونَ. And when they passed by them, they would exchange glances. They would wink. They would exchange glances. وَإِذَا انْقَلَبُوا إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهِمْ انْقَلَبُوا فَكِهِينَ. Like for example, they're passing by and all of a sudden they see a woman in her hijab, and all of a sudden they would exchange glances. Did you see her? Glances that, did you see her veil? So this is how they mock at them, passing by. And when they returned to their people, they would return jesting, having fun, laughing. And when they saw them, they would say, indeed, these are truly lost. These people, meaning Muslims, they're truly lost. They've gone astray. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, but they had not been sent over them as guardians. Who sent them as guardians over them? To pass judgments concerning them? So today, meaning on the day of judgment, those people who believed are laughing at the disbelievers. فَالْيَوْمَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنَ الْكُفَّارِ يَضْحَكُونَ عَلَى الْأَرَائِكِ يَنْظُرُونَ. On adorned couches observing. هَلْ ثُوِّبَ الْكُفَّارُ مَا كَانُوا يَفْعَلُونَ. Have the disbelievers not been rewarded this day for what they used to do? Meaning if they're being laughed at today, this is exactly what they deserve. because they laughed at the believers. And today, they will be laughed at. And this teaches us about a very important lesson. That if we laugh at someone, if we make fun of someone, then remember that we too will be made fun of. We too will be laughed at. So it does not befit a believer that he makes fun of other people. He mocks at them. He laughs at them. You learned in that story that you just heard in the Living Quran session at the end, that how that man used to make fun of other people, laugh at other people, imitate other people. This is called sukhriya, mocking at other people, laughing over them, and how he treated that blind man. And what happened? The same came back to him. His son who was born was blind. It's not possible that a person laughs at other people and he does not get laughed at. So be very careful when you laugh at someone. Very careful. Because the same is going to come back to you. The same thing. فَسَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. So soon you will know مَنْ يَأْتِيهِ عَذَابٌ يُخْزِيهِ, that on whom will come the punishment that is going to humiliate him. You will soon find out that who is going to get the punishment that is going to humiliate that person. وَيَحِلُّ عَلَيْهِ, and it will descend upon him. عَذَابٌ مُقِيمٌ, a lasting punishment. يَحِلُّ is from the root letters ha, lam, lam. حَلَّ يَحِلُّ literally means to untie a knot. What does it mean? To untie a knot. To unbind. And from this, it is used for descending, when something descends. For the same root is the word halal. Halal is permissible. Because what is haram, a knot has been tied over it. You cannot touch it. You cannot open it. But what is halal is, the knot has been opened up, you can have access to it, you're allowed to use it, you're allowed to eat it, you're allowed to benefit from it. But what is haram? It's made inaccessible. You cannot use it. So فَسَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ مَنْ يَأْتِيهِ عَذَابٌ يُخْزِيهِ. Soon you will find out that on whom the punishment is going to come, that is going to humiliate him in this world. وَيَحِلُّ عَلَيْهِ عَذَابٌ مُقِيمٌ, and on whom the lasting punishment is going to descend upon. Notice the word is عَذَابٌ مُقِيمٌ, lasting. Muqim is from the root letters qaf, waw, mim, never ending. And this is the kind of punishment that befell the people of Nuh alayhi salam. That first of all, the punishment humiliated them. They were drowned. They were punished, humiliated, finished in this world. But that punishment did not end with their death. Rather, it continued. Like for example, we learned in Surah Nuh, ayah number 25, that أُغْرِقُوا, they were drowned, فَأُدْخِلُوا نَارًا, and then immediately they were admitted into hellfire. أُغْرِقُوا فَأُدْخِلُوا نَارًا, immediately they were admitted into fire. فَلَمْ يَجِدُوا لَهُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَنصَارًا, and they found not for themselves besides Allah any helper. You may wonder that the hellfire is for the hereafter. It's after the day of judgment. But remember, we learned that in the barzakh even, in the qabr even, whatever that grave is, whether it is in the earth, or it is in the water, or it is in the belly of an animal, whatever that grave is, wherever the person is when he dies, that is his barzakh. And depending on how he has been in the dunya, it could be a source of goodness for him, or it could be a source of punishment for him. Remember that when a person who has been righteous, in his grave, what happens? A window is opened up to paradise. And a person who has done evil, a window is opened up to the hellfire. So, وَيَحِلُّ عَلَيْهِ عَذَابٌ مُقِيمٌ, this punishment is never ending now. We'll listen to the recitation of these ayat.
قالوا